Welcome back to the DJ Sessions, where we feature the best DJs, producers, and industry professionals from around the world. I'm your host, Darren, and right now I'm sitting in the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington, and coming in from, Ryan, where are you coming in from today?
Chicago, Illinois.
Chicago, Illinois, the Windy City. Awesome.
Yes.
Is it windy out there?
It's actually been beautiful today. The past couple days were rainy and gross, but today was so nice. We're ready for it.
I definitely live in Seattle, Washington, on the corner of what's called, I've nicknamed it Third and Crime, but it's on Third and Pine in the heart of downtown Seattle, and it is a nice overcast, drizzly day here. One of those days where you don't need an umbrella, and if you see somebody with an umbrella, you know they're not from here.
Oh, totally. That's what my husband's from Vancouver, so that's what he always said. Like whenever we go there, he'd be like, "Take your umbrella down. We don't use umbrellas here.
We don't use umbrellas." But coming in from Chicago, and you host a series called Pop Music for Smart People. Tell our DJ Sessions fans a little bit about what that is.
Yeah. So I have always loved music, just growing up, and it's been a passion of mine for a very long time. And me and my husband actually had the idea for this show. I was making playlists before the pandemic, and I literally just had enough people that were like, "Hey, you should turn this into some kind of audio format or a podcast format where you're actually talking about the artists and the songs and why you're putting them on these playlists." So I kind of put it off for a little bit just because I really didn't want to hear my own voice recorded. I didn't love my own voice, and just other reasons. I just kept on kind of pushing it back, and then finally my husband kind of kicked me into gear and was like, "Hey, just put out an episode." And so I did, and yeah, just kind of took off from there. It's called Pop Music for Smart People. The basis of that name is just that I really feel that there are so many people making music and really good music. And unfortunately, I think the music industry has kind of limited a lot of people to, just a certain group of people that they put on the radio or that they really push forward. So yeah, Pop Music for Smart People is just kind of saying telling people to wake up, and not that those big stars aren't good, but there's so much stuff out there to hear. So
absolutely. It resonates with the exact reason why I started the DJ Sessions series back in the day. Was I was an avid fan of going out to nightclubs, and I'd been around video I've been around video for 42 years of my life. Picked up playing with a video camera since I was 6 years old. But when I would go out to these nightclubs, there was nobody was recording the mixes, because if you did record it, where you could put it to a cassette tape, okay, yeah. And then somebody could play it in a car again one time, or you could make some mixtapes. But even when you might have been able to record the set, you couldn't really burn your own CDs. And if you could burn the CDs, okay, that was great too. But people that didn't have CD burners, until the digital revolution really came into play, even then people didn't have a distribution platform to put it out there. But the internet really wasn't there.
Yeah.
There were ways to put things out there, but burning CDs was kind of the way to do it. But I still noticed that nobody was capturing what was going on in the club. And the one thing you'd hear every weekend when you went out to the club, I would let's say I go out this Friday. Everyone says, "Oh, were you there last Friday? Did you see the show last Friday?" And everyone's like, yeah. Or no, I missed it. And I'm like, why isn't somebody putting a video camera in here? Why isn't somebody doing this? But again, there wasn't distribution for video, until we saw YouTube coming out. I mean, there was public access television. Yeah, broadcast television. Don't even want to go down that rabbit hole that I've.
Yeah, but they weren't in the clubs. They weren't in.
No, they weren't in the clubs. And even if we went in the clubs, we'd only get 30 minutes. So it was like a big highlight reel of here we go, interview. Thank you very much. And then we're paying thousands of dollars just to air that episode. But when YouTube came out and podcasting came out, it really gave us a medium to excel. And I took my passion a few years later into live streaming, and would take the local DJs and created this live streaming platform to highlight the DJs that were locally doing awesome music and show it to the world. And then later on, it became more celebrity artists and still local artists. But I totally want to say congratulations on getting started. Just making that first episode is key. It gets you over that hump. And yeah, like you said, listen to your own voice. You got to get used to it.
Yeah, and I've completely gotten over that now. Yeah, it's now I edit my voice every single week, so now I'm completely used to it. But yeah.
And I was telling somebody earlier today, you started with your podcast now, and it looks like it came from my bedroom with my webcam. You don't have to start with a huge budget. It's just get started. Do it from your phone.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
do it from your computer, do it from your webcam, and then later on maybe spend $50 on a light or
Yeah.
$50 on a microphone or green
They
screen.
say that, and this is one of the things I read like kind of early on when I was, in that like reading everything about podcasts and the numbers and just freaking out about everything. But one of the things I read the most was that most people don't ever actually start their podcast because they're so concerned with making everything perfect, up front, and not just like taking the leap. And really, like the whole point and what I've learned with the podcast is that the whole kind of point of a podcast is not that you start off perfect or that you have this huge audience at the beginning. Really, the whole fun and the whole cool aspect of it is that you really do build this like following and these people that are true fans, or true like fans of the show because you did it you did it the natural way. And that's been really cool to just see the growth of the podcast happen that way instead of just starting off with like a million followers like some celebrities do. It's like
That
it's been
a
awesome like
celebrity might
having
be able
this.
to do that, but
Yeah.
not a regular person.
Oh, no, absolutely not. And even for me, like I remember at the very beginning, I was like every day I would like check my numbers. I was like obsessed. And then like finally when I'm like, what? Like it's not about that. Like it's like, if even if two people are listening every single episode, that's awesome. Like that's so cool. Like that they, but it hasn't worked out. I mean, slowly but surely, it's really just like built into something awesome. And I hope to just grow it into something like even better. So
Yeah, and you're not from Chicago originally, are you?
I'm not. No, was born in Florida, but I grew up in Tennessee. So I moved to Dixon, Tennessee when I was 8. Which is really where my like love for music kind of came in. I was a little bit of a loner kid. I did not love where I grew up. So I kind of kept to myself and music became my outlet. And I remember finding music that my parents were like, what? Like Missy Elliott and like the Fugees and like, these Sade. I mean, these are my like inspiration board right here. But I found these artists that I just like connected to so hard at such a young age. And that really just like kind of opened my brain up to like the amount of different music that was out there, so.
And I know that Nashville over the years, or at least years ago, I heard a lot of artists were moving to Nashville because it became really a huge music hub. Do you know if it still is that kind of growing music hub?
Yeah. So they are there. I mean, for a long time in Nashville, it was pretty centered around country music for the mainstream. But like I said, even like you were talking about the clubs, like, I mean, I grew up in Nashville in the house music and, EDM scene and the after hours clubs and those kind of places, and like you really hit on something to me where you said like some of these sets weren't captured. I mean, I can only imagine some of the sets that like grew me up on music or that I remember seeing that just like blew my mind that are gone forever. Like no one will ever hear them again. You know what I mean? Just being in the club and being like, what is happening? Like, what is this sound? So yeah, it is cool now that we can really capture those things. I saw your episode with the track list.
1,000 track list.
And me and my husband love that like resource. It's so awesome. But yeah, that was a really cool interview.
Yeah, thank you. We actually just had an article published in 1001 Track List on us as well.
Cool.
We're super excited. Just came out, I think Monday. It just got released. I was like,
that's amazing.
Really, really awesome. And we actually have qualified to start submitting our track lists from our guest mixes in there as well. Cool. We're super excited. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And speaking of artists that have been on your show, you mentioned pre-show that you've had kind of a lot of DJs on your show.
Yeah. So I featured, I was going through my list of like, all the artists I featured. At this point, I've featured over 350 artists since I started the show. Because I usually feature 2 to 3 artists like an episode, but then I also do, top 10 lists for the year. I do different categories that, are all different artists and all different songs. So I've ended up like featuring quite a few artists, and I didn't realize how many DJs I actually featured until I did that list today. It's quite a few. Yeah, it's awesome.
Now, what is the goal for your series for Pop Music for Smart People? I mean, when I started mine, it was kind of a little show we started in my living room. Next week, we moved it to my bedroom because we had so much fun in the new studio. And then I got new studios and we were just growing. And, I never rushed it in that sense of things. So I just thought it was going to be this organic flow that was going to happen over the course of the years. It kept kind of going like that until 2018. So almost 9 years later is when I say I almost officially started the DJ session.
Yeah.
Went, this is full. And that was when we got feature partnered with Twitch.
Yeah.
You know, we had to move over from Ustream to Twitch and moved from GoDaddy to a new hosting server. And that's when we went to the front page of Twitch, I went, oh, okay, we're onto something here again. And then we've kind of looked at changing the format of our show. But you know, what's the long-term plan for pop music for smart people?
So it's funny that you talked about that, because it actually has already like shifted. It's already, you know, kind of grown. I really started it, like I said, I was making playlists, and I started the podcast for a pretty small group of people. You know, I would say like 40 or 50 people that were already following my playlist. I really started it for them. And I just kind of thought it was going to be a very like hobby thing that I was just putting out for this small group of people. I never even imagined that I would like, interview artists or anything like that for the show. And then I had an artist, Noga Erez, who was one of the first artists that I featured from Israel. And the team reached out to me and said, hey, she heard the podcast. She loved it. She wants to interview on your show. And I'm like sitting there like, wait, what? I never even thought I would interview artists. Like I wasn't even ready for that. So when it happened, it was so cool because I was such a big fan. So I was like so nervous, you know, like freaking out a little bit, but it was an amazing interview. And then from there, I've now interviewed over, 19 artists that I featured on the show. So it's really grown. And what I think another cool thing it's grown into is like, it's really showed me how much music is being created every day by so many different kinds of people, and that there actually is representation in music in every form. And I think that is beautiful. I think that is amazing, so I really try to focus on my show on like featuring artists that can represent every different kind of person, so that every person can come to listen to my show and say, oh my gosh, I resonate with that artist. I feel that artist, because there really is. There's someone out there for everybody that's singing to them, or making music for them. So
absolutely. It reminds me of the days when I got out of high school. I started working on a public access hip hop television show we could get backstage and we could talk to the celebrity artists, but really, I mean, the majority of the show is focusing on the local Seattle hip hop, rap, R&B market. And, and you'd put that show on public access and they'd know about it. And the only time you could see it was this time of day, if you had cable television and lived in this certain, this market, because there's Snohomish County, King County, Pierce County. You had to live in King County if the show's aired in King County to see it at that time. And they would see themselves on TV, and you see them out in the next couple of weeks. I saw my video, I saw my concert, I saw my interview, and they'd be totally hyped up about it.
Yeah.
And you're giving them this kind of exposure, that they can't, maybe as an artist, they might not have the time to go. They do the talk shows. They don't have the time to set up a talk show and
exactly
set up a whole podcast. So you're bridging that gap of getting them that exposure, and that helps them, at so many levels, depending on where they're at. I mean, I interviewed yesterday, blew my mind. I got a little bit fanboyed with it, but the independent artists, they need to understand that PR route as well.
Absolutely.
It's not about just making their music and putting it up. It's about doing some interviews and seeking out interviews and touching bit like, hey, I got a new hit single. Ryan, can I come on your show again? Ryan, I'm coming. Can I come again? Can I come in? And you start building a following, then your following starts listening to them, and they start building that traction. It's the PR mechanism or the business side of things that really isn't taught to artists, or artists don't gravitate towards. So again, I love your format and what you're doing, and going out there and, it's a shotgun. You're taking that shotgun approach, right? I used to pigeonhole my approach, laser beam my approach, and now I'm kind of opening that up.
Well, and
going to be on the show.
The cool thing with my show too is that, like, everybody that I interview or that I feature, I'm a really big fan of theirs. Like, it's not, I don't put just anybody and everybody on the show. It's like I have themes for every episode, and I really want that person to like fit into that vibe, but also too, I have to love their music. I have to be into their music and vibe to their music. It's just like, that's like kind of was the whole point of the show, really was, sharing my musical like journey and like my musical influences with people. And if they like it, awesome. And a lot of people have responded to it and really liked it. But so for me going into each interview, it's like, I'm a fan, I'm a fan of these people. And so they're coming into it like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for interviewing me. And I'm sitting there like, holy crap, like I get, like, this is awesome that I'm talking to you. Even if you only have this many followers or listeners, like I love your stuff, so that's been really cool. And I've had like, it's also opened up doors for my listenership. Like Noga Erez, for instance, she was one of the first people I interviewed. 2 weeks after she did my show, she did Kelly Clarkson and she did Jimmy Kimmel. And immediately I got this like huge boost in people from Israel because that's where she's from, that started listening to my show. So now I have like, I think 7% of my listenership is in Israel right now. So it's like stuff like that. And then I've interviewed people from all different countries, and you'll see these little pops coming from those countries, listenership, and that's really cool.
And I do have to ask, it is titled Pop Music for Smart People, as opposed to pop music for blank people.
No, yeah. So I've tried to explain this on my show a couple times. The name in no way, shape, or form is like a slight to anybody. It's really kind of a play on words, saying, for the people that are willing to and want to, really open their minds and experience, like what's out there. There's stuff out there. Like there's music out there. And there's, and it's totally fine too. Like people listen to, I have friends that, even with my podcast, they still only listen to, their artists that they love. And like, that's it. Totally, absolutely fine. Really, it's just kind of saying like, if you're smart enough to seek it out, there is so much music being made, and there's like so many cool things to experience and hear, and sounds that are being created. And so that's really just the point.
I think that falls right into something that has kind of been a reoccurring theme with some podcasters I've been speaking with recently, is that, if you find something you like, don't go out and try to copy necessarily somebody else's show. If somebody's having a show, there's 58 shows about Bigfoot. Don't go do shows about Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Maybe do it about something Bigfoot-esque, but
yeah,
Bigfoot's your passion. Go ahead and do Bigfoot. But, with music, there's so many different genres and subgenres that you can go out there and really dive down and go. I guess there's now is genres, subgenres, and then
there's like trillions. Yeah, even some of my genres that I get pegged into on Spotify now, I'm like, I don't even know what they are, and it's like, you like vaporwave, and I'm like, what is that? But
exactly my point. And I'm like, vaporwave, I was listening to this stuff back in the 80s.
Yeah.
We called it electronic music. It wasn't even really a name for it. It was like, how did you get that synthesizer, like that 80s Miami Vice soundtrack, Tangerine Dream kind of
exactly
in there, and it wasn't electronic music, it was pop electrono or whatever. But again, find a niche and go after that, and there's a lot of people, everyone out there is into something. You just got to find that group, and then you can do a great little thing called Google search and go.
And that's what I love too about the show, is like, it's really like, there's not, I really never want to be pigeonholed into one certain kind of like music. There's definitely like, there's definitely areas of music that I don't feature as much, only just because, it's not as suited, but I'm still like country, like I don't feature as many country artists, but I have featured, 4 or 5 country artists through certain points because of what they're doing, because it's cool and it's different and it's awesome and it's unique and it's like smart to me, like they're making smart music. And so I really like that aspect of it, where it's really about an energy from an artist, and, like the fact that like they are creating music, not just to create it to sell or just to like mass produce. They're creating it because they like felt it and they love it, and like that, I could feel that. And I can sense that. Like, I love that.
So tell me a little bit about sexy sex songs.
Yes. Yeah. So me and my friends, this is like, to start the story, we created this game for like, this is actually probably 6 or 7 years ago, called Category Is. And this game is, you play it with friends, and how it works is one person throws out a category, and the categories can be anything. I mean, when a group of people, the categories get very personal. They get very, like in depth, very specific. So someone throws out a category, and then everybody goes around and they put their song into a playlist. And then we play the songs, and pretty much there's not really like a winner or loser. It's just kind of like, it's funny to hear what songs people put in for the different categories that are presented, from their point of view. So that's kind of, I modeled my podcast after that a little bit. So each episode is really kind of supposed to be a different category, and I'm kind of putting in the artists and the songs that I think, best fit that. So I had an idea to do sex songs and songs about sex or that invoke sex, and then the next week I literally did love songs. So,
and you did some very interesting TikToks, I see, to those as well.
Oh yeah. I've been a dancer, like I said. I've been going on the club scene for a very long time, and that's how I express myself to music. Is I love to dance, and I love to have, I love to show people how I enjoy it. So yeah, it kind of just felt natural to me to like, present each song or the songs in that way on TikTok and those platforms. So
no, it's a wonderful medium, and like, I'm just now wrapping my head around it. I sat back. It's about maybe a month or two ago. I was laying in bed about 11:30 at night. I start doing the swipe. It's like my first time ever really swiping through.
oh,
Next thing I knew, it's like 3:30
yeah,
in
4
the
a.m.
morning. Yeah. I'm like,
it's dangerous.
oh,
I'm not gonna lie.
daylight's out. What the heck am I doing?
I started it just to do the stuff for the podcast, and then all of a sudden I found myself doing that. But I've also too, I've done 2 of the episodes for the podcast. I've done TikTok episodes where I've done artists that I found through the platforms, because I have found a lot of really cool artists through the platform. So it's lended itself in that way as well.
Yeah, I do cooking videos right now because I'm a foodie. And I throw up, and I'm like, it has nothing to do with the music unless I pick songs that I really like that are like electronic music songs to make a video to the food to it. All that's I just laugh my ass off every time I watch those videos. But we're gonna start taking clips like what I've seen you do. Is you take clips of your interviews and then make a little bit of a TikTok out of it and then say, here you go.
Yeah. So every interview I usually do like some audio clips, and then and then pretty much all the songs that I feature in an episode, I usually try to do some kind of, even if it's just be like, sitting and playing the songs or dancing to them, or I just try to present them in different ways. And then there's like a lot of like, random stuff scattered in throughout there as well on my TikTok. I don't want to have 2 accounts, so it's just like the random shit I think about.
And you're on 79 episodes. This is a weekly show, right?
It's a weekly show. There have been, there's definitely been a couple weeks, where I've had to take a break just due to life things and stuff like that. And then also too, I've had artist interviews. So if I do an artist interview, I release it on the Wednesday after I do the interview. And then my normal episodes usually come out on Friday. Okay. So some weeks there's been one of my interviews on Wednesday and then an episode on Friday, but
I'll tell you, that is probably one of the biggest things when asked advice from beginning podcasters. What do I do? What's one of the top 10 things I could do? And I say, make a schedule and stick to it. Yeah. You're going to let your followers know my new stuff comes out on Friday. My interviews come out on Wednesday. This is every like clockwork. If you miss one, okay, cool. You can always come back, or if you take a break or hiatus, just even throw up a small little, hey, everyone, I'm taking a break right now. That's the podcast of the week. I'll be back in a couple of weeks, mental health, whatever it is. I'm going on vacation. Stick right here. We'll be right back with more. You can do that in like 5 seconds or 20 seconds, however long it took me to do. But make a schedule and stick to it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been an issue. And that's like you said, in the growing pains, of doing a show and because really for me, this is like, I do this all by myself. There is no budget. It's my passion. It's what I would love to do. And it's what I would love to do for a living, but we're not there yet. So, I still work outside of this. And so, yeah, it's been trying to find that like, balance to be able to do this in the way I want to do it, and still, do the things I need to do outside of this. So I'm actually kind of in the process right now. I might be like switching my days up a little bit based on what's better, but we're looking into that right now.
It is a growing process. I used to be very adamant that my shows had to take place on Wednesday because it was pre-weekend. I could talk with the DJs. We could talk what was coming up for the weekend. We could announce their shows, where they were playing, what was coming up at the clubs. And then it was just about a year. Well, we used to do our shows on Wednesdays, but I started moving them to the weekends. I'm like, we're going to move them to the weekends because more of our, it's just an ebb and flow on what you want to do. And, as long as your viewers know what's going on, that beautiful little button they can click subscribe. Yeah. And it's always just going to download. And they say, why is my episode here on Friday? Oh, I see. Switch distribution. Yeah. They switch distribution, or, to this day. As long as get them to click that subscribe button. Yeah, exactly. Then they're always trying to get it. That's exactly. A huge one. And you got to make that call to action happen. Yeah. During your shows as well, to let them know. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. Yeah. It might get monotonous. It might sound that way, but we're trained to do that. Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't say buy now. Okay, we only
Yeah. See you later. See you never.
It's $5.99 Subway sandwich. $5.99 Subway sandwich. $5.99 Subway sandwich. $5.99 foot long Subway sandwich at Subway.
Absolutely hammered it. I've
So,
like that's another thing too. Going through is like you'll hear a progression from my first episode to now. Like there's like certain things like I used to just like every week say the same thing, and then I finally was like smartened up and was like, oh, I need to just make that into an audio clip, and I can just plug it in to each episode. Like, what are you doing here? So my husband, like, he makes music, so he helped me like make this little like like he put like music behind it, like did this little like thing for me. But I do kind of have always the same opener. I have the same I do like a little like funny thing at the end where I'm kind of telling who they should tell about my show, but I make it relatable to the episode. But yeah, that's all stuff that's kind of like, like you said, come with time and morphed and changed over time. So
even though I've done this literally thousands of times, I think I still improv a little bit of my intro every single time I come in. It's never the same intro. Same kind of thing. And this goes back to one of the first times I ever really hosted one of my first television show series. And I was up there on the rooftop in January in the middle of winter, not a Chicago winter, but definitely a winter in Seattle. It can get cold. We're up on this rooftop. I'm trying to get this really cool shot of the city behind me. It's nighttime, mind you. So, of course, the city's going to look all blurred out anyways because the camera's focused on me. Smart one there, Darren. I'm holding this camera. I'm holding this microphone. The microphone's cold. We got this big reader board with my script on it. I'm trying to do this 30-second intro for my show. I did 64 takes. And then I finally said, you know what? I'm going to stop counting. Let's just keep going. And then don't forget, we were in a flight pattern too. So we had to wait for jets.
Oh my gosh.
Into the microphone flying over.
Yeah.
And we had to do the take in between each jet flying over. Finally, just was like, screw this. It's done. And I think I ended up using like the second or third one that I did.
Yeah.
And just after that, I kind of was like, I don't ever want to. I wasn't.
No, I've had those days even because I this is my by the way, this is my under the stairs homemade recording studio. This is where I record. It's like soundproofed all behind here. My husband painted this wall mural for me of my logo.
Oh wow.
Yeah. He's a muralist, but so there's times when I've been in here. Literally, I've been like, I'll say a line, or I'll try to say an artist name, and I'll like mess it up like 1,000 times. And finally, I'm just like, okay, take a break. Can I just like just kind of walk out, stretch my arms? Like it's interesting doing this each week and like having to, kind of like mold and shift what your approach is. Yeah.
It happened to me, I think last year. I was doing an interview with Lindsay Sterling in Macau. And at the end of the interview, I got it right in the beginning of the interview. At the end of the interview, I go, and Lindsay Sterling and Mako on the DJ set did it. And I go to, okay, great. Thank you for the show. Thank you. We got to go. And Lindsay goes, Darren. I go, what? She goes, you pronounced his name wrong. And I went, what did I say? And she goes, you said Mako and it's Macau. And I went,
so
okay, I know what I can do. I know what I'll do. I'll go dub it. I'll go grab the audio from the beginning and I'll just dub it later. And you can kind of hear, like, kind of try to do my magic to it.
I can relate. To that completely. I did an episode. I featured an artist, Benny, and I was convinced 1,000% that her name was pronounced Benet, because I thought I in my head I had heard it somewhere, and I even like had watched like things with her, but like they never really like no one ever like solidly said her name. And so I like the whole episode, Benet, that's what I said. And then literally afterwards, my husband was like, did it have a thing like an asterisk on the end of the E? And I was like, no. And he's like, that's Benny. So literally my next episode, I had to like do like I had to just come back in and be like, I'm so sorry, I mispronounced that, but I think it's just a part of it. Like I've featured, even this past week I did my newest episode is Indigenous artists from around the world, and some of those names were very difficult, and I like practiced. So you never want to like do that to somebody, but I think people understand too. So
it does. Yeah. I try to do my pre. This is the name. This is the name.
1,000%.
This is the name. And I'll still shoot, But we're switching over to going full live with our interviews.
See, I'm not live. I don't know. Yeah, that's very impressive that you do that. I'm not there yet. Yeah, everything is recorded for me that I can go back and like take out all the things I need to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something I found with a service that we use called Restream that will let us push it to, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch,
Got
a
it.
bunch of different places that do live streaming. And then it also records it for us. So I can grab that and then just go back and put my graphics on
That's
top
amazing.
of it. Really
Yeah.
kind of crazy. I love the technology of where it's progressed because for me, it's still a rush.
Yeah.
This is when I do the pre-recorded stuff and I know it's going to be edited. I'm like, okay, take 2. All right, take 3. All right, let's get this perfect. And I see it and I put it in the can. I'm like, I'm watching. And I go, yeah, but do you know we did like 3 takes of that and 4 takes of that?
Yeah.
And then this output comes. When I got into live streaming, it was there. It was switched, camera switched. It was done on the fly, and it was ready to share on to the world.
No, watching your episodes is impressive. It really.
I
learned a couple things just watching you do these because like I said, I'm not there yet. I would love to get to a point where I could do that, like where I'm going live on like Instagram or things like that with artists. But I'm still even like honing in my my skills. I never thought I was going to be even interview artist. So I'm still every interview I'm like, oh, okay, listen, I heard that, So
one of the most inspirational things for me was you probably know Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V.
Mm-hmm.
And he was doing it was years ago. I probably could find this video on YouTube. And he's sitting at his desk, and as he's giving this kind of speech, he's this monologue that he's delivering. Pretty much about like Gary Vee says is just go do it. It's what he's talking about throughout the monologue that he's giving. Is the pop-up comes up here and it's a picture in picture and it starts counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and it starts going. And when you look at it, what it is, it's like a few seconds or maybe like a second of each of the shows that he's done, counting from episode 1, and it gets all the way up to like 900. You can see the progression in the background of it getting better and better and better and better and better and better. And it's just, that was so inspiring to me that it made me want to pound the pavement more. Cause I mean, I could go out and do a 1-hour show per week. And one of the things we did is, with a DJ show, I wasn't going to set up all this and have a DJ come by and play one time and set it all for 1 hour when I could have 4 DJs come by and play for 4 hours and get 4 1-hour episodes per week or 16 episodes a month.
Yeah.
And then we got into silent concert technology, which I could tell you all about in another history, but I basically quadruple her content production. And now we can actually, is it centuple? I don't know, 7 times the production value.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And it's crazy with technology and being able to distribute it, as well and put it out there. So, you got to start somewhere.
Absolutely. Well, and even hearing, what one of the coolest things about doing this to me is has been seeing it grow in my numbers and listenership, but really it's those like individual people or groups that have like reached out to me and been like, I had a music therapist reach out to me and said that she plays categories with her like class now and like she just loves the show. Like things like that have really just like meant so much. And then even hearing the people that are close to me in my life, my husband, my best friends, when I put out a new episode, they call me and they're like, hey, this one sounded really good. Like like you're like getting, like you're improving, like the stuff like that is like really cool to hear. And really it's just, it's repetitive. It's doing it, each week and loving it still. I feel like if you would know if someone didn't love a podcast that they were hosting or producing, it would come through, And so for me, it's like, this is my passion. I love finding music. I love like giving it to people. So I think
that's the one thing I think is that we are not naturally taught how to public speak. We're not naturally taught how to be in front of a camera or how to enunciate on a microphone. These are things you got to kind of pick up on. And one of the ways you can do is listen to other podcasters, watch other podcasters, or go into forums and talk with people and find out what their best practices are. And, all that information's out there. I used to give away a lot of information for free.
Hey, sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened there.
Oh, well, it was okay. I was talking. It should still be recording because I'm recording. That's why I love doing live shows. I'm going to keep that in there. I didn't miss a beat. You kind of got this look on your face like,
I know. I was like, oh, shoot, did I do something?
and then I'm just talking away. Like, but it's okay. But the point I was saying is that maybe if you didn't hear is that, you can start somewhere. There's help. There's resources. There's websites. There's YouTube videos. Everything's out there. There's classes. I just got up a phone. I got up an interview yesterday with Antoinette from Delaware, the Delaware podcaster, and she conducts classes on how to podcast.
Yeah.
And social media. very, very inexpensive classes, I would say as well. I mean,
Yeah.
that kind of help can just get you to that next hump, get you that next level.
Yeah, I literally started this, like I said, with I had no knowledge about podcasts. I had no knowledge about audio recording or editing. I had no knowledge about, like, I've been on social media, but not in a sense of like, really like get exactly social media. And like my skill set from then to now is like mind boggling. I mean, I can edit my episodes so quickly. I know the software, I know what I'm looking for. And I even like now I run the social media for my parents' company, which is in Alabama, because I got so good at doing my own. They were like, "Hey, could you help us with ours?" So yeah, it's been cool, like watching that progression. And just learning new skills, really in general, like has been like so cool.
Speaking of new skills, because this is kind of a new thing that's just come out, tell us about the PMFSP NFT gallery.
Oh yeah, so I actually just did that kind of just like I've gotten into the crypto NFT space through the pandemic. It was just something that I really do feel like it is going to be, the next big wave of, well, a lot of things, Web3 and all this stuff. So I didn't want to be that person that was, the last to know. So I'm a very curious person. So I just started doing my own research. Slowly started dabbling. I definitely made a couple mistakes along the way, lost a little bit of cryptocurrency trying to transfer things. But yeah, no, I was super interested about NFTs. So I had all the stuff from my podcast that I had like created myself. It's all my, all my own digital art that I made. And so I wanted to learn how to mint them. So I went on OpenSea and minted that whole little collection. I actually have a whole nother collection of photography. But I put those up on my website just, for shits and giggles. But it was cool, like learning that process and being able to use the stuff from my show to like, figure out how to do that. So
yeah, I'm looking through your NFTs right now. And we're looking to explore that space as well, because we have so many video assets that we've had over the years. And we're trying to figure out, what are we going to do in that space? And we've actually gone into also virtual reality as well. We've launched 2 virtual reality nightclubs, and we want to basically turn those nightclubs into not only nightclubs where you can come and watch our shows, but also galleries, art galleries, but NFT galleries.
Dude, I've gotten into we have a Oculus, and through the pandemic, I watched quite a few shows or quite a few concerts through the VR, which is amazing. Like you can be right there. I saw a set by Sophie Tucker. I saw all these like different sets like live right there, and you're just like standing in this like VR world. But also too, I've dabbled in doing some VR art, and the things that you can do inside of those things, it is honestly truly mind blowing. It is like you can like stand in the desert and create 3D art around yourself. It's like it's really cool stuff, and I really do believe that it's going to be the next big thing, especially in music. In music, you already see it happening. It's like Audius. I don't know if you know about Audius.
Not Audius,
the streaming platform. So Audius, it's a crypto-based streaming platform like Spotify, and it actually deals with mostly DJs are the first people that kind of like took it over. But they pay out their royalties. They pay out like way more than what Spotify pays out, but they pay it out in crypto. And you can once you get stuff on the platform, then they don't take anything from you for the rest of like the time. Like it's a really awesome platform, but I think more people are just like a little more freaked out about crypto and in that space. And so I think more and more people will join it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's more of these things go. I just had a friend of mine last week say, Darren, I've been watching you for about 10 years, 12 years. You're always a first mover on these things. I wasn't necessarily a first mover on podcasts. Broadcast television is a whole different medium. Nobody in their right mind, if you picked up a camera when I was a kid, you weren't going to be a TV producer. You were going to be a filmmaker. Yeah. I want to make films. I want to make Star Wars. I want to make Indiana Jones. I want to make I want to be Quentin Tarantino. Nobody picked up and said, I want to produce TV shows.
Yeah.
It just didn't click with most people. And but when podcasting was there or YouTube was there, we were looking at YouTube and we're like, oh, it's people talking to a camera. That's
well, YouTube. People didn't think, they didn't think they'd be YouTubers as a career. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. YouTubers as a career. And then there was no way you couldn't carry around a video in your pocket. Yeah. It was just an audio iPod. There was no video, but I knew in 2005 when I saw the color iPod come out, the iPod Photo come out, and I was working for Apple at the time. And I said, what is it going to take to put a version of QuickTime on an iPod to play a video on it?
Yeah.
Have a color video. And lo and behold, like 4 months later, they released the video iPod.
Yeah.
And right there, I'm like, okay, now I want to know how to get my shows onto that iPod.
Yeah.
And then, okay, there's this podcast medium. And then if they subscribe to it, they could download it. It'd go right to their iPod and they could take it with them on the go. And they could watch it anywhere in the world. Because as long as they got the Wi-Fi, or once they connected to their computer, the shows would automatically transfer to it.
Yeah.
Then 2007 comes around and the iPhone comes out. And now we got Wi-Fi and cell access. So now it's anywhere in the world.
Exactly.
Just use your data and brings it right into your phone. No more YouTube, just subscribe. And I just love that medium, the accessibility of all that. And so, being a first mover in video podcast, a first mover in live streaming, I'm now telling people, if you're not looking into VR in some way, shape, or form, you're gonna look at it 5 years down the road, and everyone that started up VR is gonna have the following, they're gonna have that base and be in there, and you're gonna go, how do I get everyone to come look at me?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I'm 37 years old, and I've watched these mediums, because I was, I was a little irresponsible in my 20s. I was probably at the clubs too much, listening to good music. But I now kick myself a little bit because things like podcasting or stuff like that, it's like to see these platforms just go nuts in such a short amount of time, just really blow up. YouTube, TikTok, like all these different platforms. So for me, I wasn't going to let crypto, NFTs, that whole Web3, that whole space, I didn't want to be the person that was like the last one being like, oh, what is this? So I do feel like I got in early. I own crypto that I, just bought and just like put away. And I really did do a lot of research and a lot of studying and just trying to learn the platform and what's possible, especially in the music space. I think it's really, really fascinating, the things that people could do and that artists can do. Artists can really take back their music and take back their rights from these big record labels that have kind of, pinned them down. And that to me is exciting for what I do, because that gives way more people the opportunity to get their stuff out there to the people they want to get it out there to. So I love that.
I'm supposed to be doing an interview coming up with the world's first NFT record label. Which I'm really excited to be doing that. And I'm still, again, we're trying to wrap our head around. My friend who's really big into crypto is like, we're just waiting to mint at this, just let it bounce back just a little bit. Cause things are down a little bit. I mean, my that's down a little bit, but I looked at
the only way it could go is forward, for what it's going, this VR and these things are not going to go away. People are only going to move into those spaces even more. There's just inevitable.
Exactly. And speaking of NFTs, which is kind of digital, you also have a merch store. Tell us about the inspiration behind the clothing you chose to do it, and who does the artwork for your merch store?
I do all that. Everything that you see on my merch is designed by myself. Every thing for the podcast, every single post or graphic or anything, I've designed all that myself. I've really gotten into kind of doing digital art and making stuff in that regards. But yeah, no, I actually was my husband's sister. I came out with I did a little meme thing on my Instagram early on, and it said what did it say? It said, if you have as long as you have the right beat and a couch or any place can be a club, pretty much any place can be the club. And and she literally on Facebook Messenger 2 seconds after I posted it, she was like, I needed this on a shirt. I need this on a shirt right now. So I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. So I put that on a shirt, and then I put a couple other things, and people started buying it. So
I'm looking at that one right now, and actually, again, quick view color. It's available in black and white, probably multiple colors, I assume.
Yeah, but, I go through a thing called Printify, where literally I can just kind of put my designs onto different things, and they hold all the inventory. They ship it out to people. I really don't, my merch I wasn't doing it to make a bunch of money or anything like that. I really just wanted people to have access to, some of the cool things that they, that I create for the show. So
absolutely. Well, you have a very comprehensive website, a very awesome show going, start on it, and branding and merch and everything on its way. Is there anything else you want to let our DJ Sessions fans know about before we get going back to doing your show and having fun?
Yeah, absolutely. Just pop music for smart people. I do episodes every Friday. I have a couple of like really cool series that I'm doing right now. Who Runs the World, which is about just all different female music creators from all over the world, every walk of life. I'm also doing a world tour where I'm literally trying to do a music artist from every single country in the world. That will be done eventually. We've already like done, I think we're down like 8 countries now. And then it's Pride Month. So each Pride Month, I solely represent queer artists and LGBTQ plus artists. So yeah, look out for that this month. I'll be featuring quite a few really awesome queer artists, music artists. So,
And where can people find out more information about that?
absolutely, yeah. So my website is popmusicforsmartpeople.com. Also, I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at popmusicforsmartpeople.com Pop Music for Smart People. And then on Twitter, it's Pop Music for SMA1. You know, Twitter, all the good names are already taken.
Yeah, all the good ones are already taken. Yeah, I was lucky. That was one of the first things I tell people when you go start a podcast series, find the name you want and then go claim it everywhere.
Yeah.
Don't say, I don't use Twitter. I don't need it. Just go get it.
I think I got every platform except for Twitter was like literally the only one where I was like, how can I not get this? Oh, also too on Spotify. And then on anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find the show. But on Spotify, if you follow my profile as well, I have all my playlists for every episode listed there. So yeah, Pop Music for Smart People.
Awesome. Pop Music for Smart People. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for coming on the series. Let's do this again in a few months. We'll check it out, see where things are going.
I would love that.
Contact. I'd love to. If you ever need any advice, any help, just feel free to reach out. I'm always down to help out a fellow podcaster. It's exciting to see people, like I said, start up. And like you said, you started episode 1. You're on episode 79. You're almost close to getting to the 100 show qualification that I have when I really start working with people going, hey, if you get 100 shows in, now I'll give you even more information.
Yeah, every milestone's been really cool. Like when I got to 20, I was like, holy crap. And then 50, so it's been really neat having that happen. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Ryan. You have a wonderful evening out there in Chicago.
Thank you so much. You as well.
You're welcome. And on that note, don't forget to go to our website, thedjsessions.com. Find us on TikTok, find us on Instagram, find us on Twitter, find us on that meta book thing. It's the DJ Sessions or thedjsessions.com. That's Ryan. I'm Darren on the virtual sessions. And remember, on the DJ Sessions, the music never stops.